You're a Florida State football fan. Recruiting has got to be on your mind. We're talking Seminoles for the next hour. We got Logan Robinson on the line, of course, from Nole Game Day. And everybody, this is your show to produce. This is what we bring you each and every week, and especially this week. Your comments, your questions, your debate topics, anything you want to leave there in the live chat, we are going to address it. So just leave what you got for us in the live chat. It's Florida State Seminoles Live for a 112th time, Logan.
It's been going nonstop. I can't believe we've made it this far. Nobody's killed each other yet. We've gotten close a few times. Jason, we have to notice Jason isn't here this week. He's really been lacking. He blames it on, maybe family stuff or, he's got to go do his job. But this is where you want to be on Tuesday nights. And I thought Jason would know that by now. I thought he lives by this show.
And the thing is, for Jason, for so long, he was just pumping himself up as Mr. Perfection.
Yeah, that's the thing. He was just the, almighty God of this show, of him staying on here. And now he's starting to lack off. I don't know if it's because we got over 100 weeks. And now he's like, well, I don't really need to be here. Maybe he's gaining offers from other streams that we don't know of. But, once again, he's not here. I hope he's listening to us tonight, wherever he is at. So we'll miss you, Jason. And the chat will too. I know.
He was Mr. Perfect for about 85 weeks, and now for the last maybe 25 or 30, he's probably missed 5. The percentage is just plummeting. It's just going downhill.
Yeah, we'll hold it down for him, though. We have enough to talk about here recruiting-wise. We're getting closer to the season. Things are happening. We got lifts going on. We've got good conversations. Who's going to be the leading rusher this upcoming year? Who's going to have the most tackles? There's all kinds of things we can talk about without him here. And if there's any kind of jersey numbers or uniforms that anybody wants to talk about, tonight's the night.
We'll start with recruiting. We'll get us underway with some recruiting with a couple commits coming in for both 2022 and 23. So we'll start with the 22 commit, a 6'1", 205-pound linebacker, and Omar Graham coming Tallahassee's way by way of Miami, 3-star linebacker, 60th rated in the 247 Sports Composite. 78th rated player in Florida, number 569 nationally. Again, out of Fort Lauderdale, actually. Out of Fort Lauderdale, Stranahan High School.
See, Jason can't even be here to celebrate the thing that he talks about the most, and that's Florida State gaining commits out of Miami. He brings it up every episode. If you're a regular listener, you know about this, and he's not even here to celebrate it. That's why I don't think we're really losing him. But going back to Omar, this is a guy that actually was silently committed for a good amount of time. He told our guy, Dustin Lewis, our lead writer and editor at NG, he told him in his interview with us that he had been committed for the last 2 or 3 months. And that's something that we were hearing, and I still think there's more names out there that are silently committed. But this is kind of goes with the trend of what we talked about on this show. We've been hearing at Nole Game Day is that there's a pretty hefty amount of guys that have told the staff that they're committed. They've kept it silent, but now there's visits being able to going on, and a lot of decisions are being made a little bit more sooner too. A lot of people were thinking maybe some FSU targets or even FSU commits once they were going to travel and go visit other places. There could be some loss there, but so far, Florida State has done a pretty good job of getting these guys on campus, doing a fantastic job on these visits. And then whenever they go off and go visit other places, or they visit and they shut down, they say, you know what, this is it. I'm shut down my whole situation. Kind of like what we've seen with Omar Graham. Miami was heavily after him and his recruitment, along with some other schools. But after Omar took that visit with his family, his dad's a Miami fan, and it seemed like the staff really sold the dad, the family, and also Omar on this. But, this is a guy that just needed to be there on campus on an official visit and is a solidified guy now. And I think as a linebacker, too, you put him at the middle linebacker area. He's kind of reminds me of Reggie Northrup. I believe that Nate was talking about him last week, but his comparison, I think, is really good with Reggie Northrup, who, can be really, really good in the passing game. I think he's a little bit more, stockier than Reggie was. Reggie's more a little lean than him and his body build, but I think you still put him that middle linebacker. But I think off of film, he's a little bit more better in the passing game than maybe Northrup was. So I think this is a pretty solid pickup, and I think there's still more on the horizon. But Omar Graham, I think, is solid. And it's always good to grab guys out of the Miami area, and it helps a lot with recruiting moving forward.
So that, I believe, is 11 hard commits for Florida State in 2022 for the second-rated class in the ACC right now, number 11 in the country, according to 247 Sports. A long way to go, but still very encouraging to hold that second spot in the conference and close to a top 10 class in the country. Now, when we look at 2023, we got our third hard commit for Florida State just this past week. BenDravius Jacobs, he's a wide receiver, stands at 6'3", so he's a big guy. Vero Beach, Florida. Basically, I'm looking at the 247 Sports. They haven't rated him yet, but you're hearing in the 3-star range, but the ratings haven't caught up and been updated for 247. But here's another wide receiver commit.
Yeah, this is a guy that is just an athletic dude, and he runs routes really well. He's able to break some ankles. There's been a few clips that he's posted on his Twitter that FSU Twitter was able to find very quickly, and they were sharing that on his commitment a day. That was quick. He earned an offer maybe not just a week ago, maybe, and he performed very well at a camp. The staff liked him. He comes in, visits. Few hours later, he commits, and that's something that is pretty telling to me. Maybe with Ron Dugans and what Mike Norvell and Kenny Dillingham are advertising there. We're able to kind of this is what Norvell likes to do. He did it at Memphis, and this is what he's doing at FSU. He's not going to change anything. He's not going to change if he's coming to Florida State. He's going to go find guys that are little gems there that he believes in. He's got current guys right now in this last class and the one before, but mainly this last class that are gems that might have not found on national sites. Highlights weren't crazy, blah, 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 blah. Maybe, a lot of guys weren't able to go to camps either. But going back to BenDravius, I mean, this is a kind of more of an athletic freak. They see a lot of him. I think they're going to see that he's going to grow quite a bit too. He's 6'3" right now, 2023 kid. I mean, he could be 6'4", even 6'5", put on a little weight. You're looking at a size like a Auden Tate, in my opinion, maybe a little bit more agile than him. I still want to look at some more film and find a better comparison. But for right now, a guy of that statue, I would go more of an Auden Tate. Auden Tate, I think, being a little bit bigger. But like I said, he's a 2023 kid. That's 2 years away. He's got a chance to put on some weight. But he going back and looking at his film, he's got some talent with being able to find the ball very well, high point the ball, and also run routes pretty smoothly too, and crack some ankles and make some guys look silly. So they found some kind of a hidden gem here, offered quickly. Boom, they got him. So we'll keep an eye on him and how he does this upcoming fall for him in high school.
Viewership has increased quite a bit here for the last couple of weeks, so we appreciate that. We think people are getting psyched up for football season, number one. Number two, we also know that many of you go out there on social media, retweet the posts, and let people know that we are here. So continue to do that. If you love Florida State football, and we've got other college football fans in here, obviously, Miami, Florida, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Michigan, all sorts of people in here. So if you love college football, period, and enjoy the show and want to keep it working throughout the season and going forward, let people know that we are here every Wednesday night, 6 o'clock Eastern time. Let's dive into the chat, see who's here, what you got for us. I got Richard Bass. Richard wants to know how our weeks are going. How's your week going, Logan?
It's going fantastic. I mean, the weather here, actually, it's not been fantastic, but you know what? I'm alive. It's going well. I'm having car problems. The weather here has been absolutely dookie, but you know what? We're still got a job. We're still working here, get to talk football, and everything's just going to be all right. I just, was on the drive and got to see that I got an 82 on my exam for my midterm, so that's good news. So we're having it's a 50-50 week. It could be better, but you know what? I'm ready. I just need some sun, I think, and everybody needs some sun, and vitamin D makes people happier. And so
it does. I love nice sunny days. We've got one here today, and it's been nice and sunny. I have never complained about the weather in Connecticut from May to October. It's the rest of the year that's the issue. That's the big problem. But from May to October, I love the weather here. It's fine, but I need to get out of here during those other months. We got a Don Bay here. Lewis is here showing up. Cheryl, thank you so much. You know that we appreciate you, Cheryl, always here for us, supporting the voice of college football. Mike Myrick, appreciate you. We'll have some fun as we get closer to this Notre Dame game, because we got a couple Notre Dame fans, including D-Rock Irish here, supporting Notre Dame. So we will be previewing that game for weeks and weeks and weeks. It'll be huge. Of course, spotlighted on Labor Day weekend. And also be locked in, folks, because in the next few weeks, Logan and I are going to get together and preview all the positions, offense and defense for Florida State, and we'll be posting those videos in the next few weeks. Got John here as well. Yep.
Yeah, that's a pretty good question. I was going to mention something real quick, Mark, before we go to his question. I meant to also say this. Randy Shannon, down in Miami, he's had that past experience, blah, blah. He's now on the staff at FSU. It's starting to get a little interesting now that he's able to grab this. Obviously, he had senior analyst on defense there. He had a play in the part of grabbing Omar Graham Jr. It's going to start getting a little interesting here. This is what Mike Norvell is doing. He's grabbing guys. Also, if you're looking at Ryan Bartow now that on staff, who's doing a phenomenal job for Florida State right now in recruiting. Like I just mentioned, Randy Shannon's on here. And then you also have the staff working tirelessly and continuously with recruiting. There's a comment on here from Kurt Searcy, and he's completely right. Florida State staff right now, I think, is outworking a majority of other staffs in the country. This is what you have to do to kind of get back there. It's not just like, everything's going to happen at once, but this is what you have to do. This is something that has to be done in order to get back to that, even a 7-win and 8-win caliber kind of season. You've got to outwork everybody. You got to be traveling. You got to be holding these mega camps. You got to be holding these youth camps. You got to be able to get all these coaches, these high school coaches in for little events. You've got to kind of be doing these things in order to get Florida State back on where it needs to be of the caliber and growing that brand even more than what it already is, because, the Florida State logo is never going to change. It's always going to be one of the biggest in college football, but it has most certainly been stagnant. I think that's what Coach Norvell has been able to realize, maybe being inside of recruiting some of these guys and hearing from them firsthand. That kind of thing is like awoken up this staff, and it's working out really well. But I think Randy Shannon was a nice help in grabbing Omar Graham. Look at Randy Shannon, who was hired a couple months ago. Omar Graham was actually he said he silently committed a few months ago. So just kind of look at connecting the dots here. And Florida State and Mike Norvell right now are playing the smart game here. And so it was something to keep an eye on. But Ryan Bartow and Randy Shannon, got to keep an eye on them. They're doing some extra work behind the scenes.
It's a good point, because recruiting at that level, you got to have a strategy. Your head coach needs to have a strategy, not just let's look at the recruiting rankings and just go after the best guy. No, you need to have a strategy you need to understand what you do and who you are as a team, as a program, as a university, what you bring to the table, and then who's going to fit that. Of course, you want just sheer talent, but out of those guys, who's going to fit? And then you got to play it smart, because you just can't go full throttle after everybody. But so it's working smart. It's working a strategy, a plan, having a plan and working the plan, executing the plan. But at the same time, like you were saying, Logan, it's just a flat out grind. Just imagine these weeks in June. These guys are holding camps all week. With 23 and 24 commits, basically. There are some 2022 guys that are still looking for a spot, but it's a lot of those younger guys trying to get evaluated and get a look. And just remember the names, just to remember all those guys' names and relate to them and try to build a relationship and connect with them and keep an evaluation and keep it straight in your head. Who's who and who impressed you and who didn't, and then turn around and bring on the 22 guys that you've been laying all that groundwork with for a couple years, building the relationship and trying to close the deal to bring them in. And you're fighting off every other, good football playing school in the region or in the country. It's hard work. It is a grind. Recruiting is a grind.
It is. And one of the things that Florida State has done a very good job at is getting some of these cats on campus and, being able to be real with them. Coach Atkins, from what we've been told from a few recruits that have eventually committed to Florida State from last year and this year, have told us that, Coach Atkins is real with them. Even though you've committed, here's some things I'd like you to still work on. I need you to work on this. You could get better at this. He keeps it real. And that's some of the different kind of vibe than Florida State has had in the last 3 years or so. It's kind of just been nice. All right, good. We got you. Coach Atkins is kind of keeping it real, and that's been attractive for a lot of these guys like Alu Ba, who's now rated as a 4-star offensive lineman, getting heavily recruited by Georgia right now. But Florida State's able to find him, get the commit down. He's being a bell cow for Florida State's 2022 class right now. But he mentioned to our staff that, Coach Atkins is real with them, and he likes that, and that's an aspect that's different than a lot of other staffs across the country, and that's only going to work better. And you're getting some 2023 guys, like you said, Mark, 2024s. You're getting those mega camps going on. You're getting those youth camps. You're also getting, those 7-on-7s where you're getting some pretty good talent there, just like you had BenDravius that just committed to Florida State. You're getting these guys to come in, even if they're not earning offers. You're having those coaches there that are able to see Coach Dugan's, Mike Norvell. You're able to see Coach Pop. You're also seeing Atkins there. They're dialed in coaching these kids, spending actual time, actually giving them advice. They're sitting there for 2-3 hours, 4 hours in the 90-degree heat, actually drilling them on different things that they can learn and get better at. And that, even if that kid's not getting the offer, that coach is still going to see that. And that's what Nate has been told. These coaches have been very happy about bringing them to these camps, and they will be bringing their talent back there because of how the staff interacted with their players. And they think it's a good idea to come back to these and work in those relationships. Like I said, Mike Norvell keyed it off in his first speech at FSU, saying, looking at Florida, at all the Florida coaches, all the high school coaches, saying, my door is wide open. The best talent comes from here. This is how we're going to be able to connect. We're going to connect immediately. Please come talk to me. I'm coming down to you, which he has done in the last month. He's just, that whole staff is working their tail off. I don't know if Mike Norvell has slept in the last 30 to 60 days. He's been all over the place in the state and all around Tallahassee, and during all of this, he's still got recruiting going on 24/7. Having visits coming over. Huge, gigantic visits. You got Marvin Jones Jr. doing photo shoots with the U upside down that his mom just posted yesterday. There's some good chit chat about Marvin Jones Jr. and how that visit went. I'll say that there was some good juju coming out of that visit. Just got to see how this play does on the field this season.
And it's also kind of like sales in that, not just that you're trying to sell your program, sell the university and all of that, but you have to be invested enough and have a mindset that you're going to invest a lot of time in some athletes and really care about them as individuals and show them a lot of time, a lot of respect, and invest in them. And they may make a decision to go somewhere else. And you have to be okay with that. You got to be tough enough to be able to forget that and move on. And with this transfer portal, show them still the respect that, hey, we support you. You made a different decision. You're going somewhere else. We respect you. But because it may come back around in a year or 2 or 3 years where a guy that was recruited by you that you built a relationship with that went and decided to go somewhere else, he may not be happy there in a year or 2 and may decide to come back.
Yep, exactly. And I'm seeing some comments here about Marvin Jones Jr., and I think it's very interesting. Miami's obviously heavily after, so is Ohio State, but being down there in Miami, Florida State Miami is heavily after Marvin Jones Jr., but to see him, you don't usually see a lot of recruits, doing the opposite thing to another school. Definitely one that's heavily recruiting him. That was probably right now one of the top 5, top 3 schools after him. Marvin Jones putting the upside down U. I know there might not be a lot of Miami fans here tonight. I heard that the strip clubs got shut down. COVID-19 is just going crazy right now around Coral Gables in that area, but in South Beach. But something to kind of keep an eye on. I don't think he's going to pop anytime soon, but I think that visit went fantastic. The whole staff was outside to greet him. They're around him 24/7. And I think, Florida State has got it. We keep on talking about, well, it'll be a bigger conversation once we get to, late July and August, but being competitive in these games are going to be huge for some of these guys. I think that's just, Florida State has done a fantastic job in-house and doing their recruiting. Got to see what happens on the field. Definitely for a guy like Marvin Jones Jr., but putting the U down like that is so disrespectful. That is disrespectful. That's exactly like, how do you go back and visit Miami after that? Can you do that? Like, the other coach is mad. We saw what you did. Why'd you do that? Like, you can't. How does that work? Like, it'd be like, someone going to visit, like Florida, and you've got a kid, a kid that Florida State's heavily after, and he's breaking a spear right there. Like, you don't want that kid back there, or you don't want any kind of part of that. You don't want him anymore. So it goes to say, maybe Marvin Jones might have, I don't know. We'll see.
So I think for the school and the coach that's desperate, they let him come back, they visit, and they don't say anything. But to your point about the coaches that get some respect from these players are the ones that say, you need to work on A, B, and C. You need to get better here, and there. And in a situation like that, if he's going to go back to Miami and visit, then he's going to gain some respect if a coach or two or three say something to him about that and say, hey, that's not cool. You don't do that. But I don't know.
I don't know.
I got to think that's if you're thinking ahead, unless he's just reacting in the moment, if you're thinking ahead at all, that's got to be a pretty clear indication that he's not going there. I got to think. Yeah.
No, that's what I'm feeling. Nate has been hearing a few things on that front, and a lot of that definitely in Marvin Jones' camp. It's very secure on what his decisions are going to be and all that kind of stuff, and definitely understandable. He has a huge, gigantic season, like you said, 245 right now. I think I don't know what he was last year, but he looks like he's gained at least 20, 25 pounds. He looks incredible. It's obviously number one guy on Nate's board to grab for FSU. Much needed. That is a true defensive end right there. And you're getting a legacy recruit and one of the best, Florida State's best linebacker ever that's ever gone through Tallahassee and Doak Campbell Stadium. So you got to have Marvin Jones Jr. I just thought that was something interesting that we'll be talking about tomorrow night on our podcast, because I don't usually see that a lot. I don't think the staff was like, hey, put up the U. That's something that, you're talking to that staff. You're daily texting them, calling them, blah, 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 and you're doing that kind of, and that's allowed mom to post that on Twitter. I don't know. I have no idea. We'll just see how the story shakes out, Mark. That's the fun part about recruiting. We're back, baby. COVID-19, bye-bye. We're back to some good stuff here.
That's it. We'll get to a couple questions here before we move on. John had asked about what positions do you think are going to be focused on, are the greatest need for the rest of the way?
I think the number one position is offensive line right now. I think either offensive line or defensive line. Nate and I agree on this a lot. I'd probably go more offensive line than anything. I think Florida State has a they're on the right step of changing this whole line right now with some true talent there, true offensive linemen. You're not having to look at the transfer board. Obviously, they had to do this last season, but looking at the future, Florida State is doing a very good job on the offensive line. But changing that for a quarterback too, you've got a very talented, one of the top quarterbacks, top 15 quarterback coming in with AJ Duffy right now, who's doing very good in camps. I wouldn't be surprised if he creeps into a top 6 of quarterbacks after next season. He's killing it in camps right now. He's at IMG. He's going to face good talent. If he's able to play well, he's going to move up in those rankings even more. So you've got a talented quarterback coming in. You're looking even ahead at some guys, even a guy like, I believe Parsons was actually just recently visiting FSU, a 4-star quarterback in the 2023 class. Is going to be one of the top quarterbacks too for the 2023, that whole 2023 class. So, to keep getting these quarterbacks or start to get that trend of getting some top tier quarterbacks, top tier talent, elite talent, a quarterback, that offensive line's got to be built. You want to get those top tier running backs, because Mike Norvell has the resume of bringing in running backs. He can do that, but adding on some spice with some good offensive line, good run blocking, allowing these quarterbacks to pass and stay in the pocket, not having to shuffle around is going to be huge. And you've already got a very talented coach with Coach Atkins. Give him those Lamborghinis. Give him those Ferraris up there, those big boys. Maybe they're not Ferraris or Lamborghinis. Maybe they're tanks. They're big boys and the Hummers. I don't know what they big old fat Escalades. I don't know. Put some 35s on them. Give Coach Atkins some good stuff right there. And you're kicking it for the future, because that's something that Florida State did with Trickett and Jimbo. They were able to bring in some very talented offensive linemen, because they also knew you had Jameis Winston coming back there. You had a Malik Henry. You're bringing that talent in. You got to have an offensive line to protect these guys. That's the reason they'll come. But it's going to take some time. But there's some guys like Quashawn Sapp, Daughtry Richardson that Florida State is heavily after. Quashawn Sapp, FSU and Florida are going to fight for his commitment. That's another 4-star offensive lineman. It's trending definitely in the right area. Florida State's got, like I was talking about, Oluba is very talented. Georgia's after him. If you're having to compete with Georgia, it's not easy, but it's good to know that Florida State was able to grab him already. And he's a bell cow for FSU. But yeah, I think offensive line.
We'll go to Kurt's question here. And Logan, this one's right up your alley, right in the wheelhouse. Know you love to talk about the strength and conditioning. So Kurt's asking about a full off season with Josh Storms bulking up these players. Are we hearing anything about anyone in particular as far as gaining strength?
Yeah, this was something that during the spring game, a lot of people were looking at the game on TV, and I didn't really see it so much whenever I was in person, but a lot of the people were thinking, Florida State looks really small, and I do agree that they're one of, if not the youngest team in the country. So they're going to be a little small, definitely after a year of having to do workouts at home. Some of them were having to get sent some dumbbells and weights and a bar, like to try to work out while they're all at home during the lockdown. So it was kind of hard to get these guys back on a regular regimen, get their nutrition in, which is really the biggest thing. Like, how do you get a nutrition thing going? Coach Storms this last offseason during COVID tried to really work on, getting some packages sent to these guys. But I mean, you can only send one of those things, but these are some big boys. These are guys that need to gain weight. They can kill, 2 boxes in a week with how much they're sending them. So you got a spring, and you've also got a summer now with strength and conditioning coach Storms. He's got great assistants around him that have done very well. And previous stops, one of them, I forget his dadgum name every time. I got him on Instagram, but he's a big dude. He actually helped build. Now I'm losing my mind. The 2 Ole Miss wide receivers, big boys now at Seattle. Who am I thinking?
We're
here?
talking about Terrence Metcalf
and AJ.
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown, yeah, those 2 cats, that viral picture of them flexing and looking good after the weight room. He was actually the assistant strength and conditioning coach over there whenever they were being developed. And obviously those cats are gigantic and athletic freaks, but it's going to be huge for this team, not only in just conditioning, but really building up some base there, definitely for some of these offensive linemen that need this extra meat, but not more than meat, but muscle on them to hold that lineup is going to be big. And also, you're looking at your speedsters too. I think it's going to help a ton. Like a guy like Corey Wren, who is already extremely fast, but put on some muscle, like a Toa Philly, who needs a little bit of meat to stay on the field longer. This should be helping quite a bit. You're already seeing gains with Steven Dix Jr. You're seeing some good gains with DJ Lundy. I think this is going to be big for this team moving forward. We'll just see. We'll see how well they're developing. Deshaun Corbin posted a tweet yesterday of him last night squatting 445 twice. You'll take that for what it is. Max is probably at like 485 or getting close to 500 there. So, these guys are putting in work. It's just got to see some development, and we'll see if that happens this upcoming year, because this is a young team and it's going to take a little while.
Jason has ditched us for the week, so I shouldn't even go this route, because this is Jason's spot to do this. But Well, we will. We'll set up. It's tradition. We'll set up a Logan for the halftime speech to
Oh
hit
yeah.
the like
Yes.
button.
Yeah, smack that like button, people. We're at 6:36, 6 minutes behind. But as usual, hit that like button. We got 70 on the line. I think we can hit 50 before 6:40, about 3 minutes. Hit that like button. It goes out to more FSU fans that are listening weekly on the Mark Rogers Show. We're going 112 weeks in a row. Like I said, I don't know who else is doing it, but recruiting, analysis, answering questions, going over topics, game previews, game recaps, all kinds of different things on this channel. Make sure you hit the like button and also hit the subscribe button, because then it will come up on your feed whenever a new video is dropped. So definitely appreciate everybody hanging out with us. If you've hit the like button, tell us in the chat. If you've hit it, tell us in the chat. And the people that didn't hit the like button, we're coming after you. We're coming after you.
I hope that Jason's back next week as well, because I'm probably not going to make it. So you guys will have the keys next week. That's
You only allow
trouble.
Yeah, you only allow this a few times a year, and so we're definitely going to make sure we take advantage of it. Luckily, there's no baseball, there's no basketball, there's barely anything going on really that Florida State's doing. There's no more softball, so right now we have to strictly stay to football. So
if Jason can figure out any way to talk about anything other than Florida State football, he'll figure it out. He'll bring up anything else.
And it's most likely a shot at Miami. Or it's some kind of question that I can't answer right now because it's still June. I don't know who's going to be that starting running back or quarterback.
We are in the midst of putting together a debate between Jason and Cam Underwood from State of the U on Miami 2001 against Florida State 2013. They both can't wait to get at each other on that. So we'll see how that plays out. And I know that this gets brought up almost every show, whether it's Miami or Florida State shows that I do, about the 01 Canes and the 13 Seminoles. So we're going to let those two guys duke it out. So they're going to get together on that one.
I'm about it.
All right. And again, Logan and I are going to get together here in the next few weeks. So be looking out for these positional breakdowns. They did really well last year, 10,000 views, something in that range. So get behind those. And when we got like 70 or 75 people on board here in the last couple of weeks, it's been pushing like 130, 140. If all of you would just go out there and tell everybody you know that loves college football, and especially Florida State, obviously, that we're here every Wednesday night at 6. And then you would tell them about Noel Game Day, and we'll set Logan up for his various platforms. So you just let everybody know where they can find you.
First off, on YouTube, also here with Mark Rogers, we're both building together as a family. So we're trying to grow on YouTube, and then also Instagram, or a podcast we're doing weekly. I think for the next, until really the season starts, we're going to have a continued amount of guests. This week, we're going to try to have Omar Graham on to talk about his commitment to FSU. That's tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's called Hear the Spear. If you're not able to listen live, you can also go to iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Google Play, everywhere. You can just hit that subscribe button. It's called Hear the Spear. And we go live with Nate, who we had on here last week, Dustin Lewis, our lead writer and editor, Carlos Williams, 2013 national champion, and then also Austin Veazey, our lead basketball writer. So I definitely would start trying to, if you like podcasts or shows, or like having something going on while you're at your workouts or driving a little far, or leaving work, going to work, definitely would suggest adding that to your podcast player if you guys want to hear the spear. But other than that, just enjoying life, getting ready for fall camp.
We're less than 4 weeks away from ACC Media Days, and that'll go right into August camp. So it's going to come fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Richard asked a question. I don't necessarily know that this is relevant, not to disparage one Tate Rodemaker, but is he really in play here? So he was just making a comment. Richard was about Tate Rodemaker needing more reps during the spring game.
Yeah, Tate, I mean, the thing with him, I think his dad wants him to get more reps out there, and that's something that he and the staff, from what I've heard, has kind of been an interesting thing to follow. But some people were thinking during this offseason that he was thinking about transferring. I don't think that's the case just yet. I think it would have to be another season, but I'm not sure if Rodemaker, having going to those scrimmages, he had the most playing time out of every quarterback that was in the depth chart, out of Jordan Travis, Milton, and walk-on. He was getting the most PT. I don't remember fully during the spring game how much playing time he had compared to Jordan Travis and Milton, but he definitely would. I'm sure his dad and also him and maybe the staff would like to get him some more playing time. But that focus right now is on your two solidified guys as being potential starters, and that's going to be Jordan Travis and Mackenzie Milton. Mackenzie Milton had to get a lot of serious playing time because of him trying to build chemistry, and it worked out pretty well. We didn't see it during the scrimmages, but then at the spring game, blew up and had some beautiful, beautiful passes to some of the younger wide receivers. So building that experience, and that's something maybe Tate Rodemaker has to do more. But right now, it's the quarterback battle, and looking at backups would be Rodemaker, but Jordan Travis and Mackenzie Milton are going to go head to head this upcoming fall camp, and it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be very fun. I think Mike Norvell and Kenny Dillingham have a pretty interesting playbook that they're gonna continue to build this offseason. But you're going to see a lot of Jordan Travis, and you're going to see a lot of Mackenzie Milton, in my opinion. A lot of Jordan Travis, though. Jordan Travis was the leading rusher last year. I hope a lot of people remember that. The leading rusher. You're not going to take your leading rusher off the field. I'm not understanding a lot of the FSU fans that just say, bye Jordan Travis, here comes Mackenzie Milton. Didn't play the last couple of years, and you're going to throw him in immediately. Jordan Travis is the most experienced guy, leading rusher last year. I don't care kind of how you use him. And Mackenzie Milton, I think, is a more talented guy at throwing the ball. But that's another conversation that we're going to have for the next couple of months, definitely when we get into fall camp. You can't take Jordan Travis off the field. He's one of your most talented special players there, one of your special weapons that you can use. So just something unique to look at. And the FSU fans shouldn't be mad at that. It shouldn't be, mad. Oh, man, I really want to see Milton. That's going to happen. But you don't want to hurt yourself why not have two, not just one, but why not have two guys that are extremely talented at what they do?
Yeah, anytime you got Jordan Travis on the field as that second guy, if Mackenzie Milton, even if he's on the field as the quarterback, if Jordan Travis is on the field, well, he can threaten the defense in so many different ways. He's a playmaker himself as a runner. Then if he gets the ball in his hands, he can throw the ball. And then he's a threat that's going to move obviously the defense toward giving him attention and open some things up for other guys. There's just, it's not a traditional quarterback situation. Here's your one guy. Here's your number two guy, QB2, and one guy starts, and unless he gets injured, then you go to the second guy. No, this Jordan Travis, exactly. This is a guy that's a weapon. So they definitely have all sorts of plans and packages for him, even if he doesn't win the starting quarterback spot.
Yeah.
Mr. G14 Classified, support Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Thank you so much for that. Encouraging everyone to hit the like button, and for everybody that responded to Logan's asking everyone to hit the like button. Thank you for that. We appreciate it. D-Rock Irish asked a question. This is a bit difficult to answer, but I'll give it a shot at least. He was asking about closing on a recruit. How do you close with a recruit?
Well, it's kind of been tough for FSU now because there hasn't been much, not really a great product per se on the field. I think what Florida State is looking at right now is being real with them, being inside there now that Mike Norvell is able to meet the mom, meet the dad, and the family members around them. Kind of be real with them, show them, what happened with this last staff, not trying to completely blame the staff, but look at what has happened, not only that staff, but before that, what happened when Jimbo was there, what went wrong, and telling them how it's going to be fixed. And, if you're able to get to that point where you need to solidify a recruit and kind of seal the deal there. I mean, look at now the future that you're trying to build. You're bringing in some big time talent. Shoot, you can bring in Travis Hunter if you want to seal things up real quick. And I think that's what Mike Norvell is doing. You can bring in another 5-star. Why not Sam McCall? You can bring in another high elite quarterback right now, one of the top 10 quarterbacks, and bring in AJ Duffy. You can have AJ Duffy try to seal up things with Kevin Coleman. I think that's what Mike Norvell has been doing, making sure these guys that are already committed, they're to help recruit. But maybe the trick is just putting Travis Hunter next to him and saying, why don't you just come join me right here and we just take this thing over? But I think also, I'm sure Mike has brought up a lot of things that he did at Memphis that worked successfully, which shoot, yeah, it did, with maybe a little bit lower tier talent and then the recruiting room than what he has the potential to do now at FSU. So yeah, that's how I'd probably go of it. I'd say, biggest tool right now is Travis Hunter. Any school right now would use him, but I mean, he loves Florida State. He loves being in Tallahassee. So that's kind of, I mean, this cat is at every, I think competing almost every weekend too. So, I mean, he's able to do his own recruiting on his end. So just to kind of seal things up though with kids, you gotta use those just different kind of tools.
And that's what's amazing when you can get a recruit that committed that like Travis Hunter is, that he not only is ready to sign himself and has made that commitment to say, hey, this is my team, this is my program, I'm doing it, but he's out there working, talking to guys constantly, coming back to campus for all these camps and these recruiting weekends and just being there all the time.
Yeah. I mean, look at like his experience with Jaleel Skinner, the high rated, one of the top tight end in the 2022 class, Alabama, Florida, FSU, all kinds of schools heavily after him. Very skilled. He's kind of almost a hybrid between a wide receiver and tight end, but I think Florida State likes him more at tight end right now with the talent that they have at wide receiver, where they feel comfortable where they're at. But really, Travis Hunter is hand in hand. They roomed together. They were there for a majority of the week together. That was huge for FSU with a guy like Jaleel Skinner. At his that kind of talent, it would be big time. But you're looking at Florida, where they're able to go off of their past and show, hey, this is what was successful for me. Come here. You've got guys in Alabama who obviously have had some success at tight end. Florida State, using that tool with Travis Hunter can help a lot of things and move this thing around, where you're getting a lot of elite talent in the class. This 2022 class will be really interesting. It's all going to teeter on how this season goes. Right now, it's doing great in the 2022 class. It's the number one team in the ACC right now, ranked per 247 Sports. You've got 2 5-stars. You've got, I believe, 2 or 3 4-stars, but I'm not even looking at stars. You're looking at AJ Duffy, who can be a big time bell cow. You're looking at Alu Ba, who is just rising up in the rankings at offensive line, which will help maybe with Quashawn Sapp, who's an FSU target at O-line. That's a big thing. I kind of went on a rant there, but it's about football, so that's all I remember. I forget what it was, but it's about football.
It's about closing the deal. Closing the deal. The only thing I'm going to say there is I see a correlation between salesmen and recruiters when it comes to closing the deal. A lot of people are out there trying to sell, regardless of the product, regardless of the service. They're salespeople, but and a lot of people are successful at just talking to people. They're comfortable just building a relationship, talking, and having a good time and presenting the product, but they don't know how to close. They don't know how to close. That they say is the most difficult component in the sales game. And I got to think, to a certain extent, that might be the same with recruiting. So I would think, in that final conversation, whenever that is, that they sit down and they have a face-to-face kind of conversation and really lay it out there as to, what are you looking for? What do you want? This is what we bring to the table. We've been real with you. We've been upfront about, our challenges and what we're going through and what we want to do, what we want to build with you. This is what we've told you about your strengths, weaknesses, and how we can help you. And I got to think, there's a skill to it. It's got to be authentic, but there's still a skill to closing the deal.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate everybody being here again for another Florida State Seminoles Live. You can join me on Patreon. Just search Mark Rogers TV, exclusive live streams per request, and a lot of stuff that we've got going on over there, as well as voiceofcollegefootball.com. Check that out. I am still looking into trying to put together a fantasy football league. It's kind of difficult in the college ranks, but I'm looking into it, trying to put that together for a fantasy league for everybody to join, as well as a pick'em league where we can have contests and prizes for that. So please go to voiceofcollegefootball.com and register for free up at the top. Register for free, voiceofcollegefootball.com. Let me know what you think of the site that we launched a couple months ago.
Oh, I'd love to beat some people's butts and some fantasy. So if you ever get that signed up for us, get that set up for us, Mark, then that's something easy to do kind of on the weekend. Just kind of look at it for 10 minutes and just beat everybody that's on here. They don't want any of this, and we'll just take down all the thing. I would love for Jason to get involved too and just beat him too.
Nice. I went to FanDuel and I went to DraftKings to see if they had college football fantasy. But before I signed up, I just didn't want to sign up until I found out. So there's really no way to find out unless you're signed up and subscribe. So I threw out a flyer out there to see if anybody knew if they did that anywhere. Because the guy that is the web developer for my site said if you can get like a third party, like a DraftKings, to do the fantasy league, then we can connect it to the site and we can do it all right there. So
I'm all about it.
Okay. Cool. We will try to throw that together. Can't guarantee that to anyone, but if anyone has any insight into that, you know how it can be done. If it's on DraftKings or FanDuel or anywhere else, a fantasy college football fantasy league. Obviously, the NFL is easy to find, but a good college football fantasy site. All right.
I'm all for it.
I heard some good things about 2023 four-star quarterback Chris Parson.
Yep. I think I kind of mentioned him a little bit earlier when we went on one of the rants of recruiting, but Chris Parson had a very, very good visit to FSU. There's a lot of very good visits, and there's some good things that we're always hearing out of these. It just depends if these guys are kind of trying to seal the deal anytime soon. He's still a young guy up there in Tennessee. Tennessee's obviously heavily after him. He's going to be a heavy four-star on probably 247 Sports eventually. I think he already is, but he's going to solidify himself as being one of the probably top 5, top 10 quarterbacks in his class. Florida State has done a very good job early on in his recruitment, was able to get him down and visit. He was greeted. He looked extremely happy whenever the video came out, coming to meet the staff. The whole entire staff was out there to greet him. Obviously, big time target that Florida State's going to be after. But from what I heard, everything went very well. Kind of like how the Marvin Jones Jr. visit went. So something to keep an eye on for sure. I think, Florida State stands in a pretty good spot with one of the top quarterbacks in the 2023 class. So.
Also, I saw something concerning the Arizona four-star tight end Anthony Lucas enjoying his time in Tallahassee.
Yep, Anthony Lucas. I didn't see much on him, I'll be honest with you, but obviously a big target there, getting another tight end in that class. And it will be interesting to see because right now Florida State has two handfuls of tight ends on the roster. So they're going to have to be very smart and keen on who they're going to be picking, moving forward and recruiting wise, because you can't take too many at this point. You've got a load of them. So
we seem to be a bit shy on Miami fans tonight for some reason. I have no idea why.
Like I said, the strip clubs got shut down, and so it's a Wednesday night, and that's usually the place to be. And it kind of was disappointing not to have a lot of these guys on here with us, but sometimes it's nice. We don't have Ronan on here to give his whatever amount of money from his euros, and
that's why he threw up the super chat sign too.
Yeah.
Super chats tonight. That's because everybody's on PayPal or Cash App or Venmo, and they're throwing the contributions there. So you can always do it there too.
It just changed big time. I think right whenever that sign came up, Mark, right at our guy Khalil might have just came through
Khalil,
there.
this guy's phenomenal.
This was huge. Big
Khalil,
day.
I don't know where we found you or how you found us, but we appreciate you being here, not just because of the contribution, obviously, but you have some great comments, and you've been joining us now for, I don't know how long it's been. It's not been a long, long time, but Khalil has shown up in full force here. So appreciate that, Khalil. Did you guys catch Marvin Jones Jr. recruiting picture putting the U down? So, Khalil, you may be just jumping on board here because Logan went through the whole deal on that. Why do you guys think Jameis Winston has become underrated and disrespected in comparison to other Heisman winners? Then he was way better then. So 2 things here. Again, Logan went through the whole Marvin Jones thing, so I don't know if he wants to go through it again, but we appreciate the contribution. Khalil, you can go back and watch the rest of the show because Logan took off on that, and we just basically were thinking, okay, Marvin Jones, how does he go to Miami now on a recruiting visit after doing that? It's gonna be fun to watch to see what happens there. But in terms of Jameis, Logan, do you think there's anything there to what Khalil's saying?
I think the biggest thing was the off the field stuff didn't help, and the few circumstances that he put himself in didn't help whatsoever. I think Khalil's kind of going off of what he sees also on social media and sites, always not putting, Jameis up in those kind of tiers of Johnny Manziel, like Cam Newton. I'm trying to think of others like Marcus Mariota, and kind of forgetting about Jameis. That happens a lot. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because of whenever he's still in the NFL compared to a lot of other guys. Mariota is like, that was just fun while he was doing that in college, and then in the NFL that didn't last too long. Jameis still is going to fight for being a starter for one of the best organizations in the NFL with the Saints, with Sean Payton. I don't understand him, probably because he throws 30 interceptions, he throws 30 touchdowns, blah blah blah, but that shouldn't affect how people remember him as like he was in college football. He was insane. He was Houdini. Sometimes back-to-back weeks as a redshirt freshman. I mean, the things that he was doing were, so fun to see. It was fun for us to see as fans, and I'm sure, around the college football world, it was also very entertaining to watch him make these plays, the kind of talent that he had, and save games, make that drive down the field and win a national championship against an SEC team, which everybody was thinking, Florida State maybe didn't have a chance there. Auburn was, Florida State didn't play anybody that year. And, Jameis was just playing against some weak opponents. Well, maybe there was a few weak opponents, but they're obliterating them by 50 points. What else do you want them to do? They were able to put in their third string in the third quarter. I don't know. It's always irritating for FSU fans. Jameis, is going to go down as the best quarterback at FSU, and coming from a Chris Winkie and a Charlie Ward, that's very impressive. But let alone in the last decade, he is by far one of the best quarterbacks that we've seen in college football. And it sucks to see that. It kind of relates to the 2013 team, the kind of crap that it gets. It doesn't get enough recognition. And then you got LSU, who had their year, and they try to not put Florida State anywhere near them. It's always something that Florida State fans have to go through, and it's just it just is what it is. Yeah,
my take on Jameis Winston, along the same lines that Logan brought up. Anytime you look at the careers and the legacies of a college football player, some people attach it to the NFL. So if that particular player went on to the NFL and was a bust, then their college credentials get tarnished. It depends what the conversation is. Is the conversation about that player's entire career, college and pro, or are we talking about as a college football legend? And I will use that word because Jameis Winston is a college football legend. There's only 50 dudes roughly that have won a Heisman Trophy. It's a little more than that, whatever, 75 guys that have won a Heisman Trophy, and probably, if you want to take that Heisman Trophy and a national championship, then you're cutting that list way down. And, I remember the first game he played against Pitt. I believe it was a Thursday night game, and he pretty much didn't miss a pass the whole night, and it just took off from there. And like Logan says, that team was a vintage, great Florida State and all-time college football team, as an undefeated team that just obliterated its schedule. Had a great comeback in the BCS championship game to win it. He throws a touchdown pass. You talk about clutch. He throws a really long pass down the right sideline. Who was that to? What was that?
Which game was it?
The championship game at the Rose Bowl.
That might have been probably Rashad Green.
Yeah, that's who I thought it was.
Was it on the last drive? Yeah, on the last drive. Yeah.
They really broke open one play, and he did what he had to do. He was facing 90 seconds left in the game, and that's the stuff of legend right there. National championship on the line, an undefeated season on the line. You've come back from 21-3 down. He leads a comeback. He throws a touchdown with 8 or 9 seconds left in the game to win a national championship. Even the next season, the stat line wasn't pretty, but the team was a little bit in decline. It wasn't the team that it was the year before, and he had to keep pulling games out week after week after week. The interception rate went up, yes, but he kind of had to just throw the ball a ton and carry the team, carry the load. And then he goes to the NFL, and has he had a great career? No. Has he been a bust? No. He's been a starting quarterback in the NFL for a bad franchise, where, again, he had to shoulder the load and do more than most quarterbacks have to do. And I think he still has, if he's going to be in the right place, which he's in New Orleans right now, he's still got a lot of football in front of him and a lot of time to prove that he's a really good NFL quarterback. I think he's been a pretty decent one to date.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward, out of college football, looking forward to his future with Sean Payton. I think there's tons of talent. Alvin, he's got one of the best running backs. You've got Michael Thomas, one of the best wide receivers in the country. We also got a tight end too to work with. I think, Jameis going through that whole thing with the Bucks, I was not a fan of whatsoever. Wasn't set up in the right spot. They thought Jameis would save everything, but that's just not the case. Jameis didn't save everything without some talent around him at FSU, definitely an offensive line, which, it's funny how, you go and you grab Tom Brady, then you start fixing a lot of these things. And that's what happens. They split a lot of money in there into the Bucks. That's just kind of how it goes. That's how a lot of pro teams go. You're going to spill more money in, you're going to do all that kind of stuff, make some changes, and things will work out for you like that. And, I didn't even know some of the wide receivers Jameis was throwing to. Is Mike Evans off the field? I have no idea who he's throwing to. We have no clue. He's I got a few kids off of the friggin' buffet that's out there playing a wide receiver that he was throwing to. I had no clue who these cats were. But then, of course, you're able to go grab AB, and just have some fun there and, kind of stock up your offensive line, draft some guys on the line to help Tom Brady and save Pretty Boy. But, we'll see. I'm excited, though. I'm excited. I'm a baby Saints fan, always, I root for my Steelers. But I'm excited to watch Jameis kind of, if he is able to get this start, which I do think he will. Get ready, get your popcorn ready. I'm going to be sitting back, relaxing, and getting a whole bag of popcorn, enjoying chomping away, watching Jameis get his revenge against those idiots. So, and I think he can't wait either.
Khalil, I'm curious what top 10 list you're looking at, top 10 quarterbacks in college football since 2000. So understand that's a long time. That's 20 through 20, the 21 seasons of college football. So I don't know if I would put him in the top 10. I think I would. I wouldn't guarantee that for sure, but I believe he should be in the top 10 in this century since 2000. So I don't know who would be ahead of him. Tim Tebow, Cam Newton maybe come to mind, but yeah, he should be in a top 10. I'm not thinking of 10 better quarterbacks in college football in the last 20 years.
Yeah, no. Though I think I know what list he's talking about. Usually it's from blogs that are just want to troll or be idiots, or they're just actual idiots, meth users primarily that don't put Jameis in those kind of lists. As FSU fans, we've been through that. We know it all. We went through 2013 and 2014, the hate on Florida State and Jameis. We've been there. We understand. We kind of just look at it and just be like, it doesn't give our attention anymore. It's just because of, I don't know what it is. Everybody's in love with Joe Burrow now and what he did, and it'll be interesting to see. If once Joe Burrow is doing his thing in the NFL and Jameis is doing their thing, what kind of comparisons are we going to do now? I don't know.
Well, to be fair, Florida State did not play the toughest schedule, but other national championship teams haven't either. There have been a lot of national championship teams that haven't played great schedules. That's just the nature of college football. If you play in a conference that's having a down year that particular year, and you don't play everybody in the conference, but when it comes down to it, you play probably the second best team in the country in the championship game, and so you got to go through them, and they did it.
Yeah,
and they obliterated those teams, like you mentioned. They crushed that schedule.
Yeah, took down number 3 Clemson in Death Valley at 8:30 prime time. 51 points, 51 points, and held Clemson to 13.
Yeah, and I think they had to score with about a minute left to put the second touchdown on the board.
They had some extra crap at the end there. They gave him a little garbage touchdown when Florida State had in their Water Boys. 51-14, my bad. Should have known that since we were there. But, I mean, the game was already over by halftime, and we were all in complete shock. Complete shock. We were like, oh, wait. That's a Heisman winning quarterback right there. And this defense is stupid. Ridiculous.
Logan, I didn't realize how long I had you here. I think we've done our work, so appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate you having Mark, as always. Definitely appreciate everybody coming to listen and hanging out. Hit that like button one last time if you guys are about to dip out. Hit that like button. We're at 65 right now, but definitely appreciate everybody that definitely smacks the like button. It's free. It helps us get more viewers on here, more FSU fans, gets these Miami fans, get that ratio fixed out. We're getting closer and closer to football season. On Sunday, I really felt it. It was Father's Day, and I was spending time with my dad, and just thinking about a full capacity of college football teams. It's going to be we deserve it. It's going to be so much more fun. Last year, I will say I was more entertained with NFL than college football. I just couldn't do it. It's just such a difference with having fans and students involved and tailgates and having fun. It just felt like so many restrictions going on. It was too much of worrying about masks and everything. It was just not that enjoyable to watch college football. Now we're back. We're ready to go. Full send. Doak Campbell Stadium, 80,000. Going to be loud. Mike Norvell doesn't even know what he's getting himself into with walking out on September 5th and going against Notre Dame. He has zero clue about what's going to happen. He's going to go through some chills when he runs out of that tunnel on Labor Day weekend.
Khalil will pick up the conversation on Joe Burrow and Jameis Winston another time, but appreciate that. Logan sent us off in a good way, so we will take it right there. Join us next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, Florida State Seminoles live, folks.